Alright, so now we're going to do part 2. So that was the end of part 1. So now we're doing part 2. So what we're doing in part 2 is you're going to be given an unknown salt. So you don't know what this unknown salt is. But it might be sodium chloride or it might be something else. So you're going to compare it against sodium chloride. So what you're going to do with your unknown salt is going to be impure. So it's got other stuff in it, so it's got some other junk. I think they actually put sawdust in it. And then some other stuff that makes it colored. So you got this impure stuff, then you're going to purify it. You're going to purify it by recrystallization. And then you're going to test the identity of your pure unknown, and you're going to compare it against the sodium chloride. So test, is it the same? Is it same as the sodium chloride? So you're going to test it against sodium chloride to see if it's the same compound. Alright, so that's what you're doing overall. So what you're going to do is you're given this impure salt and you're going to purify it. So how are we going to purify it? So what you're going to do is you're going to do your purification process. So you're going to weigh out your solid. I'll tell you that I'm just going to give you a number. So I'm going to say the salt that you are weighing is going to weigh 2.998 grams. So that's the experimental results that you're going to put into your little chart. And then you're going to dissolve it in water. Whenever you're doing a water that involves your reaction, you always use distilled water. So this would be 50 milliliters of distilled water. And then you're going to filter it. This filtration is going to remove something that is insoluble in the water. So the filtrate is going to have your product. Filtrate. This is the liquid part of your filtration. This is where your salt is going to be. And then you're going to add decolorizing charcoal. Decolorizing charcoal is this black powder. Looks sort of like graphite. And then you're going to filter it again. And then you're going to look at the filtrate. The filtrate is the solution that came through. You're going to cool it or let it cool down to room temperature and maybe even colder. And then a solid will precipitate out. When I say precipitate, that means that there's some solid that's coming out of solution. So you're going to have your little beaker or Erlenmeyer with your solution in it. So it's got some liquid in there. And then when it cools down, you're going to actually see the solid coming out. The solid is not going to be black, but I'm drawing it as if it's black. But you're going to see solid coming out of solution. Probably not as much as I'm drawing here, but some solid will come out of solution. And this is your pure salt. So this stuff down here that I've gotten in my little, this little thing that I'm showing as if it's a black powder, this is your pure salt. Okay, so with your pure salt, what you're going to do is you're going to then test your pure salt And the test that you're going to do with your pure salt is going to be, you're going to compare it against the sodium chloride. Alright, going back to this, what you'll find is during the course of the semester, whenever you make a solid that during the course of a reaction, you may be asked to recrystallize it. So this entire business of dissolving it in water and filtering it and then letting it precipitate out, this entire process is a recrystallization. So you're starting out with impure salt and you're ending up with a pure salt. The other thing I want to show you is when you're doing your filtration, you're always going to use your little filter paper. This isn't actually filter paper, I just because I'm not actually in the lab right now. I'm at home actually. So you're gonna, this is the way you fold your filter paper. You fold it in half like that. You fold it in half again. So then you get something that looks like a little little triangle. And then you fold it like this. And then you stick it inside your little funnel, and this is where you put your solution. That, and then you'll end up with some powdery stuff in here, and then in the bottom, inside your vessel, you're going to end up with your liquid. Okay, so there's my little filter paper thing. Let's take a look at what we should get in our little part of your data in your lab report form. Okay, so there's your lab report form. So what we're doing is part 2, composition of the salt. So it says this is the experiment that you're doing starting on page 32 of your lab book. So mass of the impure salt, I gave you a number. I made it up, but you know, when you weigh it, when it says you're supposed to weigh out 3 grams, so when you weigh it out, you weigh it out to something close to 3 grams. You don't have to get exactly 3 grams. You don't want to stand there and add a crystal and pull a crystal off and just make sure you have exactly 3 grams. You write down however much you actually have. So you might have 2.998, you might have 3.010 grams, but it should be very close to the amount that they ask you to use. So you're using the balance in the front of the room, not the one in the back of the room. Filtration of the insoluble solid. Did all of the solid you weigh out dissolve? Was the solution colored or clear? What probably is going to happen is it's not going to all dissolve. No. Did all of the solid you weigh out dissolve? No. Was the solution colored or clear? And the solution is probably going to be colored. Describe any leftover insoluble solids and filtrates, liquids produced, any insoluble solids. This is going to be something that's not white, and it is a solid. The filtrate is going to be a solution. It's going to be a clear solution, meaning it shouldn't have any chunky things in it, but it's probably going to be not completely white. It's not going to look like water. It'll have a little bit of a faint color to it. Okay, so then you're going to add your decolorizing charcoal to it, and then was this filtrate, the solution, colored or clear? And the filtrate should be clear, meaning this is a clear solution that's colored, so this will look like, I mean, if it was really bad, it would look like Coca-Cola, you know, if it was a very dark solution. But you shouldn't see any chunky things in it, but it would be some sort of a little faint color to it. This is, once again, not going to have anything chunky in it, but it should actually look clear like water. What was the function of the charcoal? And the charcoal was to remove color. And actually the function of the decolorizing charcoal is to adsorb impurities. the impurities that you remove are usually colored impurities. Okay, so now we're up to the second part. We're going to test your unknown against your salt. So this is your purified unknown, and this is your sodium chloride solution. So you go over to the side hood, and there's a solution that's labeled sodium chloride solution, and then you make your own purified salt that you made right above by doing all that recrystallization. Okay, so let me zoom out for a minute. Alright, so now we're up to identifying the qualitative test to see what you actually have. Alright, so what we're going to do is we are now going to take our solution, and we're going to use a flame test. What you do for the flame test is you get a little, you get your pure salt, and you're going to put it on a little wire, and then you're going to stick it inside a flame. So, and then the second thing you're going to do is you're going to react it with silver nitrate, and you're going to see if you get a color. So with your flame test, I'm going to go ahead and give you the results that you should get. The flame test, what you're doing with the flame test is you're actually exciting the electrons in your cation. So the flame test tests for the cation, and your precipitation test tests for the anion. I'm going to continue this in a minute. Let me stop now.